Good morning. I'm about ready to start work on this veil. Again, I showed you in the other video, but it's basically a very simple veil, 2 pieces. On my website I have it for sale, and I have it for sale as a football shaped veil, and I'm sure you can see why I call it that. The pattern can be bought out of, it's a Mennonite book called How to Sew a Headship Veiling. It's usually about $5 or so online. I did obtain permission, just for the record, to sell this veil from the people who done the pattern. But this type of veiling is a very common pattern, and it doesn't have to be just shaped just like this exactly. The basic shapes can be done. A lot of people have veils like this for sale. Some people call it charity veil and so on. Some people have it longer. There's many variations of this style of a veil. And just to give you a basic idea, that's the part that will wrap all the way around and meet at the base. But that's about 20 inches or so, well, 20 and a half. And this veil is what I would call a shorter one, and it is about 12 and a quarter. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the basic size and shape of this veil. It is, again, very easy, and I think you could probably hand draw you something very similar. That's usually how I make my patterns. I get an idea or a thought, and I just kind of hand draw it, and sometimes I have to tweak it a few times to get the right size and shape. But if you have basic sewing skills, don't be afraid to try designing your own head coverings. It's really not all that hard. Of course, again, 2 pieces. This is interfaced with a lightweight interfacing, and you're going to do your right sides together. And what I always do, I have a fold here for the center. I like matching that up first. I think that's the best way to do it evenly. And I'm sure if you have any kind of a sewing skill at all, this video might even be very boring to you. I don't know. I'm not used to sewing on camera, so please forgive my mistakes. Sometimes when I cut the band on these, I don't always cut as accurately as I should, and the reason why is I just don't see that it's all that big of a deal, because it's very easy. Like if you cut it just a little bit too long, just to trim the edge off, something like that. I'm not the most precise cutter in the world, but I do try to fix that, and sometimes if it doesn't look like it's going to lay just right, you have to repin a little bit, and that does make a big difference in how your veil's going to lay. You want to make sure it's nice and flat. I think that is. Another thing that's quite useful is ironing in between all your sewing steps. It can make a huge difference in how your seams lay. If you're not one who does that a lot, you really ought to think about it. Now, right now, my iron doesn't work right, so I kind of can't do that as much as I would like to. I've got a different iron, and I need to get that out, but the one I have right now is not working very well, so that's why you see a little more wrinklage in this, but when it's done, I will iron it well. This type of veil is not as vital to iron on the in-between steps, except for maybe when you flip it, like this, I mean. After that, you kind of want to iron it flat before you top stitch. But when you're doing a cap style veil, sorry, that's my 2-year-old. He's playing with a slinky. But when you're doing a cap style veil, it's really important that you do a lot of ironing in between the steps. It'll make your stitching a lot neater. What are you doing? I hope that's just a slinky. The next step I would do is I'm going to go ahead and stitch this around the top. I have a walking foot on my machine. It helps when you're doing curves. It's not just for quilting. The walking foot is an awesome foot if you have it. Now I should say too that you don't necessarily have to do the step next. If you want, you can go ahead and serge your edges and get your rolled hems done. On this veil, it doesn't really matter if you do one step a little different from the other. But I already have this pinned, so that's what I'm going to do next. I usually go about 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little more away, and I actually use my foot as a guide. Daniel, don't touch the tripod. Sorry. You start your stitching, kind of hold your thread back there, reverse, and go for it. Now, if you don't have a walking foot on your machine, it really is okay. You can still sew this. It just makes it a little bit easier. A bit slinky.
I know.
Now, generally, I don't like to sew over my pins, but sometimes when I sew curves, like I'm doing right now, I leave them in. It just makes it a little easier. And right now, with being on camera, I don't want to try and take them out too. Let's try to pull away just a little, keep it smooth. Hush. Don't be so bad with that, baby. Okay, I can feel it bunching under there just a little bit, which is something the walking foot helps to prevent, but sometimes it still happens. So when you feel that, go ahead and pull that pin out, smooth it out, and sew. Stitching, up and cut. I'm going to go ahead and cut the video here because I don't know how long my time is.